Hi, I'm Jenna, and I've got the Ride Revolt binding here. So this is a great binding for your all-mountain freestyle rider looking for just a solid binding to take them into maybe some a little bit more aggressive riding. So to start off, some of the features of this binding, we've got an aluminum frame, of course, because all ride bindings do have an aluminum frame. This binding specifically has the foundation chassis, and what that means is the chassis itself is a little bit softer, a little more flexy, which is great for freestyle riding, but still has the response that, of course, aluminum provides. Now, underneath your boot, you're going to find padding throughout the binding, so not just in the toe and the heel of the binding. What that does is it really gives you vibration dampening throughout your entire foot, as well as dampens shock. So one of the new things for this binding, this is actually a new model this year, but one of the new features is the balance core ankle strap. So you can see the strap looks a little different. You've got a whole piece taken out right here, and what that does is it really cuts down a lot on the weight of the binding, as well as provides a little bit more range of flex in the binding. You still have a ton of response, but you're getting that little bit more forgiving of a flex with the binding, which is nice. One of the new things too on this binding is the Wedgie 2.5. So if you look very, very closely on this binding, what you'll find is that the foam underneath where your boot goes is actually a little bit thicker on the outside, comes in, is a little bit thinner over here. So what that does is it's especially great for riders who are riding a rockered board. What it does is if you're rocking a pretty wide stance, your feet are generally angled a little bit more like this. It's a little bit harder to transfer that energy to the outside edges. Now you've got a little bit more leverage on the outside of your foot, which allows you to effectively transfer this energy. They make a couple different wedgies. This has the 2.5, it's right in the middle, so it provides you kind of with that perfect stance correction, as well as gives you some of that extra power, really gives you some extra pop, again, especially when you're on a rockered board. So last I want to talk a little bit about the toe straps on this binding. So we've got a convertible toe strap, so as you can see, you can ride it over the top of your boot or over the toe of your boot. Now, the reason why you'd want to do that is because tightening your binding way tight over the top of your boot often creates a little bit of loss of blood flow to your toes get colder, you're not as comfortable, etc. So instead, if you ride it over the toe of your boot, you can kind of draw your boot back into the binding a little more effectively. You're a little bit more comfortable, you can ride a little bit longer during the day, and again, the binding performs just a little bit better. So what's unique about Ride's convertible toe strap is you actually have the thin grip, and what that does is it really allows that material to stretch over the toe of the boot, which is great because if you don't have a ride specific boot, you're still going to fit great into this binding, and the binding's still going to do exactly what it's supposed to do. So lastly on this binding, we've got the ultralight quick draw ratchets. So again, these ratchets are super quick, super easy to get in and out of, but a little bit more lightweight. So this is the Ride Revolt binding. Again, great for your all-mountain freestyle rider, just looking for a really solid intermediate to advanced level binding.